Aloha and welcome. It is Aloha Friday. Here we go. And everyone's ready. No, Wrigley doesn't want treats. Cassie does. Pia does. Not Wrigley. Wrigley will go steal from his mom now. So, no, there you go, baby boy. So, hello, gang. We got Princess Megan back in chat. She had to switch device. Oh, I know it, girl. I know it. Here, let me let Cassie get down and go play chase. And I swear I would. Okay. Anyone else wish YouTube would set up something on our phones where we can actually tag easier? I don't know about you, but it really drives me crazy. I'll sit there, start typing in, okay, first three letters, and then you run into the problems like lately there's a couple of us with as the first letter, first word, and it's like, oops, that does not work, does it? So someday YouTube will hear my dream and they will set that up. It can't be that hard. All it is programming. Anyhow, yeah, YouTube doesn't like us. That's all there is to it. They do not like us. So, how y'all doing? I have been sitting here. I was listening in on Sleuth's Live earlier with Letitia. And then I went into, let's see who else is Jamie's live for a while. I was doing some research. I've just been sitting here trying to get things ready for this live because there's some really great channels out there that cover mental health things. Amazing ones. I mean, those of you in chat, please feel free to share out. If there's a channel you guys watch that does mental health, real mental health, okay, really helps people out with things, please share with each other because I know Julia Christine, oh my God, I love Julia Christina. She is just so good at what she does. There's so many others out there. And many times they are people who actually have the degrees to back them up. They're not just some person like me who's just trying to make sense out of it all. So, but yeah, this subject actually I pulled from hers. It was something I watched of hers a couple, oh gosh, months back. I think it's like from a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And it was a subject that really spoke to me at the time. And recently it's been speaking to me again. So I was like, I think it's time to talk about it. So, but before we talk about it, let's pop into chat. Let's see who we have here. Of course, Miss Princess. La Princesa was first in chat, but just barely snuck in because Robin popped in 1 minute later. So we are talking by seconds. That was close. That was close, but Princessa got it. La Princesa got it. And then you got me. Hey, Boots is here. Hey, Boots. You know what? Let me share you her account. 1 second. I always get this wrong, so let me pull it up real quick so I can share with you guys. I always put an A at the end of the wrong name because she goes by her first, and I'm thinking her middle name. It's Julia Christina, and she is amazing. She is actually, let me share her channel out, gang. She knows what she's doing. She really has a great understanding. She's also got the master's in psychology and stuff like that. It's really, she does a great job. So there's her channel right there for anyone who wants to go take a look, sub. She's got some programs that she does off of YouTube that are wonderful programs. And also, anyhow, let me work my way back over to StreamYard, and I am back to StreamYard. And there's Miss Grandma Sherry with her bunny. I don't have a bunny, but I've got a new Grogu one. I've been working on Grogu on the side. So I couldn't believe I found Grogu and Stitch. I could not believe I found Grogu and Stitch things. I was so excited. But anyhow, I got to still work on them though. So who else? There's Miss Rosa Ling. Happy Friday. Happy Aloha Friday, my dear. Cassie wants to come back up. Okay, get back in your chair. Grogu, Grogu. Yes, Sherry. Grogu, Grogu. Georgia Peach. Hey, girl. How you doing? Yes. You know, your name, every time I see it, I think about my mom because she grew up in that area of the country and she loves her peaches. And Hawaii does not get good peaches. The peaches in Hawaii suck royally. And also every time we get to the mainland, especially down south, she's got to get herself a good, oh my gosh, and they are big time day and night difference. Totally. So, Let's see, who else we got here? I see Miss Sleuth is here. Hello, Sleuth. And we just covered that. Julia, Christina. Hopefully that helps you guys. Yes, Cassie, there you go. You can add that. Grogu, Grogu, Gladys. Hey, Gladys. Welcome, 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 my dear. Oh my gosh, we've been having so much fun we've been having fun talking over in other lives and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. Come on over here at times. What we got from Boots. Star Wars Day will never be the same. Oh, that changes May the 4th. That totally changes May the 4th. Actually, May the 4th this year will be Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is released that day. So, but I am so sorry, Boots. Yeah, it doesn't take much for something just to change the way you see a day. Okay, I mean, it does not take much. I'm sorry, my dear. And there's Miss Amy. I love you, my dear Amy. And, oops, sorry, let me pull that one. And let's see. Forgot it was Friday. You know what? I almost did the same until yesterday because we were over on Sleuth's, well, we were over here, but doing our panel yesterday. And I got in my head last night that it was Wednesday. And I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So, yeah. I've been having fun, actually. I'll tell you guys more about it during Cantina. But Studio Ghibli, who does like Spirited Away, a lot of really good anime, they're doing kind of like this Studio Ghibli month type thing. And at the movie theater over here, they are showing a bunch of their movies. So I've gone to a couple of them this week, actually. It's been a lot of fun. So, okay, let's see. Where are we today? Let me get to my banners. I got treats hiding this. So, anyhow, actually, I should probably take that off the screen first. That'll make it easier for people to look at. So, like I said, this I came across on Julia's channel, gosh, probably about 6 months ago. And it was very beneficial for me at the time because I found a lot of times I would get very defensive. And my way of being defensive is not quite like a lot of people. Different people react to defensiveness in different ways, but many times it all comes down to the same reasons. The reasons why we are defensive often come down to the same thing. Yeah, she's just like, yeah, watch this. You can have it. And I'm going to run out of, no, I've got about 10 of these left. We should be good. So, and so I was realizing I was getting defensive now, where some people might go full force, attack on the attack back and everything. My way when I would get defensive is I would internalize. I would never speak it out loud. I just internalized everything. And I did not realize that was actually coming from defensiveness at the time. And lately, I'll be honest, it's starting to pop up again. Okay, I'm finding myself getting into that a lot more lately. So I was like, okay, let's revisit this. Hey, Wyoming Adventures, welcome, welcome, my dear. Pull up a chair. So let's go through this. Let me slide. First of all, everyone knows the rules. We are talking about things that could become triggering to anyone. You never know. I've learned one thing about triggers. You never know when they're going to come. You can be having the most amazing day in the world, and one word is said, one smell comes by you. Okay, something you see, whatever, a song comes on the radio, and it can trigger you. So please remember, call 988. If you need help, if you need to talk to someone, please contact 988. Also, take care of yourself here in this chat. The chat is here for us to support each other. But if you find yourself getting triggered in it, need to take a step back, please do. If you feel you want to come back later, there's always Replay Crew if you want to do that. If not, okay, take care of yourself. That's the number one rule here. So, defensiveness. Okay, defensiveness comes out in many different ways when we're dealing with regular life. Okay, it's something that I think all of us at one time or another, every one of us have gotten defensive about something at one time or another. It's part of just being a human being. Okay, something is said, whatever, and you find yourself getting defensive for one reason or another. However, it can come out, like I said, in many different ways. Okay, some people will come straight out. We see it on the YouTube streets. People get defensive and they come out fully going on the attack. You have other ones who will, disappear completely. Okay, yeah, Amy, exactly. There's been a lot going on. And I think a lot of that has brought up emotions within each of ourselves. Because a lot of times that's where the defensiveness is coming, is something inside of ourselves that we're trying to deal with or need to deal with. And so first of all, when we're looking at defensiveness, there's different ways it can come out. Okay, one thing could be just in pushing back, like I said, fighting back. Okay, someone says something that triggers you and you get defensive and you decide you're going to come back swinging, okay, whether figuratively or literally. You are going to come back and you're not going to let anything get by. You're going to make sure this person knows exactly where you stand on everything. Okay, another way is just people who just stand there. Someone says something that triggers you. Okay, maybe you're at work and you're doing a presentation and you're feeling really great about your presentation. And then you come to the questions at the end and someone says something that just makes you feel like, what the fuck do you mean? Okay, come on now. Okay, I know what I'm doing and I'm good and all, but it's gotten you and you just stand there like, how do I reply to this? Do I address it? Do I run away? How am I going to do it? So you just stand there. You just stand there and kind of whatever comes at that point. The last is you run away and you avoid the issue. Okay. The one thing you can look at this, another way of seeing this is flight, fight, or freeze. We've talked about that. It's been a long time since we talked about that. But that way all of us have of responding to something. We either fight it, we flee, we run away, or we freeze like a deer in the headlights. Okay, so that is how our defensiveness often will pop up. And it's going to be different for everyone. And that's what makes it even harder for people who are on the outside who want to help support, because it's going to show up different for different people. Right. Okay. The way Amy, for example, might react to it is going to be totally different the way than I would react. Does it mean one of us is reacting better or worse? No, it's just that's how we react to these types of things. With defense, and one of the things to remember is Wyoming went fighting in my case, and there you go. And you run into so many of those things there. I'm sorry, reading through it. Especially when it comes to people coming after family on YouTube. Yes. And that's where we get into the types of defensiveness, okay? There are two different types of threats that we deal with every day in our lives. We have our threats to safety. Okay, that would be someone, okay, who is out in the middle of the woods and they hear that bear, okay, coming up behind them and they take off running or they decide to fight or something. You are fighting for your life. You're out in the middle of the city and you see someone starting to chase you. Okay, that is a threat to safety. If you don't respond to that, your actual life is in danger. That's one type of a threat. The other type of threat, though, and honestly, the type of threat that most of the time we're dealing with nowadays, because threats to our life and safety tend to be a lot farther apart nowadays than they used to be. We're not living in log cabins anymore. We're not having to do all those things quite like we used to have to, caveman days, things like that. But we have these threats to our ego. Okay, threats to who we know we are or who we think we are. Worried that other people are going to believe what others say about us. And we talk about that all the time. Now, something like Wyoming is talking about there. Okay, threat to safety. If you've got people who are going out and threatening family members and stuff, you are dealing with a potential threat to safety. Your children. Okay, if children's pictures are shared out there, things like that, They are real threats to safety. Now, then you have the other types of threats where people start playing, games by, say, starting rumors up or things like that. And that becomes more of a threat to our ego. Okay, someone says, oh, so-and-so said whatever it is about so-and-so. That becomes something where in our heart we're more like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure people realize that's not who I am. That's not how I react to things on that level, because it's more about, you're worried about reputation, things on those levels. Now for some, I'm hoping I didn't just get kicked off the internet again. I'm back. Good. My chat just disconnected. And lately, internet's been weird out here. So you run into things, okay? Sometimes words and name calling can become a threat to safety. Okay, if you've got someone who is threatening you by calling you there's certain words, certain names that become a threat to safety. Okay, it's not just a word. Okay, P word. Okay, certain things, even on racism, stuff like that. It can become a threat to safety. Because even if the person who's speaking it doesn't mean it as a safety thing, there are many people out there who can turn it into a safety thing. So that's where you run into these things, okay? Just calling someone, some of the basic comments that we hear all the time, yes, that's more ego. But when you're dealing with something where a comment could truthfully put you in danger, put you in not only danger of someone coming after you, but your job, things like that, that becomes a different issue. So you've got threats to safety, threats to ego. And understanding when to respond comes down to that a lot of times. Okay, our safety definitely deserves defensiveness. If you are being chased by someone while you're out shopping, okay, you're driving home and you see a car following you behind your car the whole time. Yeah, you need to be acting for your own safety at that point. And your survival may be all the difference right there. However, ego-based defense, which is usually what we're dealing with, actually is more tied to our sense of self-worth. How many times when someone has said something about you, you find yourself getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and then you finally say something, and if you go back and think in your head, well, why is it I'm saying something? A lot of times it's because you're worried people are going to believe what they're hearing. And where we kind of come back to that, though, is it's coming down to this feeling of self-worth, self-esteem, things like that. I don't joke about it, but yes, in a way I joke about this. When we have these cases where people say things like that, I will say to others, I will say to myself, well, you know what, Loco, your friends know the real you. They know you're not someone like that. Okay? People who matter, the people who are worthy to be part of your life, that you share your life with, really honestly know who you are. And nothing anyone else says is going to make a difference. Okay, they may now, if they see those types of issues with you, they may come to you and say, hey, Loco, you know what? What that person says has maybe a little inkling of something you need to grab onto. And then you've got the other group, the group that no matter what the truth is, it's never going to matter because they're going to believe whatever they want to believe, no matter what. Okay? There is nothing you or anyone else is ever going to say that is going to make them think differently about you, because they've already made up their mind. And most times they've made up their mind based off of other reasons. Okay? Internal reasons. Go back to your 4 agreements. Okay? Most times nothing is about us. It's more about the other person. Okay? So you focus on you. The last bit is that group in the middle. the ones who really, they're not going to automatically believe, they're not going to automatically not believe. They're going to look at how you're behaving over time, and they're going to make those decisions for themselves. Okay, and those are the ones that I'll look up to, because they actually are truly trying to find out the truth and not just believing who anyone on either side is saying you are. They're trying to find out for themselves. Amy, exactly. They do it to humiliate you, to be mean. And that's where part of the problem happens, because when we are fighting our own self-esteem battles, that becomes an argument in our own heads. Okay, and a lot of times that's exactly, JP, learning how to let it roll off of us makes all the difference in the world. It's one of the reasons why, if you go back to your teenage years, think about, oh my God, it was hilarious how much my girlfriends and all would fight with each other. You'd say something and it would automatically attack whatever was going on in that person's heart. And many times you were saying those things because you knew it was going to mess with that person and their belief in themselves. You were doing it to be mean. And the hardest thing is to realize, you know what? I believe in myself. I know who I am. Fuck that person. Excuse my language, but fuck that person. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. There's nothing you're going to do to change it. So is the defense side helping at all? And that's where this whole thing starts coming, because in the end, the lower our self-esteem, the more we tend to find ourselves having to defend our ego, because we're trying to make it make sense to ourselves. Because in our head, we are already fighting with that ego, that self-esteem, that little devil on your shoulder that's telling you you're not worthy, or you're this, or you're that. You're already fighting that. And when someone comes in from the outside and is making that dig at you to make you hurt, okay, we want to stop that hurt by either attacking the person back. We go on the emotional level ourselves, rather than stating something and sticking with that basic statement. We tend to go emotional ourselves to hurt them back, or to prove to other people that we're not who that person says, when in reality, we just need to believe in our own heart that we are that person that we want to be. Okay, and there's many reasons why we defend ourselves. Okay, it happens. Okay, a lot of times it comes from childhood, things like that. We defend ourselves to feel more sure of who we are. Okay, so-and-so has called me, okay, God, think of all the YouTube words, a flip-flopper, a grifter, a this or that, whatever it is they're calling. Okay, so we speak up saying, oh, no, I'm not this and I'm not that, when what all that matters, honestly, is we know we are not the flip-flopper. We are not a grifter. We are not those things, because we know the truth about ourselves. And that's what matters. Okay, yeah, you want to attack back. I want to attack back. Okay, and sometimes the defensiveness is not even coming from something that's an attack. It might be someone forgetting, okay, that we are there or something like that. And then our mind starts playing mind games with us. Okay, all these different things. I'll kind of pull up some ideas on that one in a second. But when defending, we often find ourselves acting in ways that we later regret. Okay. Amy knows about this story. Okay. The good old wrenching. Okay. This happens over and over. I have no idea how many times this has happened to me in my time on YouTube. And I know it's happened to other people because I've had this discussion with them. Okay. It may not even be something where we're mad at what someone's saying. Maybe someone doesn't wrench you, or they forget to mention something to you, or stuff like that, and you start taking it, oh my gosh, that person doesn't trust me, oh my gosh, that person, okay, they're upset at me, someone must have said something about me behind my back to them. We start playing all these things, in our heads. And it's not even coming from something that is negative to begin with. Okay, maybe that person was busy and didn't recognize or whatever it is. Okay, but we start playing, our minds start playing this game. Amy, you threw a temper tantrum once. Yeah, I mean, I have literally started working myself up into a frenzy over something that was so stupid and was never actually something that was meant to hurt me. It was just forgetting, or it was just someone made a comment, okay, and didn't mention my name in the comment or whatever it was. And we start playing all of these things because in the end, we get defensive about it because there's this part of us that is worried about what might be going on. Is someone talking behind our back? Do they really like me or do they not like me? Are they just saying things just to say it? Our mind plays all these freaking games with us. And then all of a sudden something pops up. You get the wrench, or the friend comes back and says, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot your birthday. I am so sorry I forgot your birthday and all. And you're like, oh shit. Oh my God, I can't believe I got so mad. Then I went and talked to this friend and this friend and this friend saying about how so-and-so forgot my birthday. And now I'm finding out they were just super freaking busy and did not realize what day it was. And now I've gotten myself into trouble because my actions kept pushing further and further and further to the point where I regretted those actions because I realized what I had actually done. Rosalind, I love you, girl. And it's the things that I think all of us do at one time. Hey, Aussie True Crime, how you doing, my dear? Yeah, Wyoming Adventures. You go crazy. You make videos and community posts about them and stuff like that. And then later on, you're like, oh my God, what did I just do? But it doesn't happen until maybe a couple hours later. And by then it's too late. So then you're left apologizing for your behavior, or you double down on your behavior, or things like that. So defense and defending ourselves often gets us in more and more trouble because of who we're talking to, how we're talking, how we're thinking about ourselves, how we're tearing ourselves down more and more rather than building ourselves up and starting to understand what it is that is leading to these emotions. So the question comes, though, is it okay to speak up at times? And how do you do it? And I think this is where we talk about defensiveness, being defensive versus being assertive. Because yes, again, like I said, in a life safety type situation, you're going to stand up for yourself. You're going to run away. Okay, if someone is saying something about you, there are times you're going to be like, yeah, this time I've made the decision, I'm going to speak up. So you're going to want to do it assertively. Okay, it's basically, you've got setting boundaries. Okay, setting expectations. Okay, hey, I do not appreciate you making that comment about me. I get that you're angry and all right now, but this is not something I'm going to accept at this point. And versus, I know you are, but what am I type thing? Okay, because that's where the difference is. Assertiveness is coming from more of a logic point of view, looking at why you feel the way you feel, okay, and trying to state your truth in a very non-aggressive but factual way, as compared to the back and forth that depends on emotions, name calling, trying to get, yes, Sherry, nanny, duty head, yeah, nanny, boo, boo, all that type thing. And I swear you guys have no idea how many times I will read comments, okay, that people or community posts, and in my head, I'm reading them in the nanny, boo, boo type voice. That's actually how I'm reading them, because that's, you start realizing, wait, okay, this person got hurt by that person's comment, so now that person is making a comment back to this person to hurt that person. And it goes back and forth. And we continue on and on and on. Sherry, perfect thing. Address the situation directly. Don't react. Reacting always gets us into trouble. Yet it's one of the hardest things not to do, because we react when we just jump. We have to slow things down if we're going to actually look at how we are addressing a situation. You can't just go off knee-jerk on it, because then you're going to find yourself doing things that are going to get yourself into that defensive mode rather than something else. Haters with a cold heart love reaction. Yes, and that's true. It is true. For some people, this is what they want. They know you're going to react. They know you're going to get defensive. So they aim for that. They start up the arguments knowing that you're going to respond. And when you don't, they're going to double down. They're going to triple down until they finally realize, no, you've grown beyond that and you're not going to get into it. Our defensiveness often comes from past issues. And this is where we really have to start looking at ourselves and what happens. Because defensiveness comes from emotions. It comes from questioning where you are in life, who you are. Okay, as you're trying to figure out, because we're all changing every day of our life. To the day that we die, we're changing. Okay, and we're still trying to come to terms with different parts of our life, different past experiences, things like that. A lot of times our defensiveness comes from past verbal or emotional abuse. Okay, maybe you grew up in a family where you had someone who was always tearing you down. Maybe not even verbally. Maybe you had a mom or a dad who could just give you that look, and it made you feel so small, like you needed to curl up in a corner. And then as you got older, you found yourself wanting to speak back, but maybe if you spoke back, it would get 10 times worse. So you would freeze instead, or you'd run away. Or maybe you did finally get to the point you would speak back, but your speaking back was in a defensive mode rather than that assertiveness and taking charge of whatever is being said about you. JP says, I'm a bag of emotions, but the music coach says, empty your bag, you'll need the rip. Yeah, and that's true. Actually, that's actually a great way to put it, because it is true. Okay, we can only hold so much inside. At some point, you're going to need room for new experiences, bad and good. So you've got to be able to release some of this stuff, but release it in a way where it's not going to continue coming back every day. Because when it's continuing to come back, because you're dealing with it off of defense rather than trying to figure everything out, you're just keeping it in that bag of issues. So many times we're just wanting to prove who we are. Okay, maybe you're at work and you've got a coworker who questions every decision you make when you come together to work on a project. And you just want to prove to them, hey, no. I know what I'm doing, and I really think this is the right answer. And you're wanting to prove who you are. Okay, prove that you are able to make decisions for yourself, that you're able to stand by who you are. Defensiveness, when we get defensive, it brings along all the emotions. Okay, think about the last time someone came after you and you got defensive. All of a sudden, you've got anger. You're resentful of what they're saying. You're feeling helpless, maybe. Like nothing you say is going to make a difference because no one's going to listen to you or something like that. It becomes a thing where all we've got is all of these emotions building up over and over and over. Sometimes we're talking with someone and they may come up with something where it's actually coming from a good place. But we see it as negative because we still have that thing in our head, okay, that questions. Okay, go back to the whole idea you're working on a project at work and you come up with this great idea, and one of your coworkers pops in and says, "Well, what if we do this instead of that?" And they truly mean it as a good suggestion. But maybe there's something in your past history where maybe a parent, a school teacher, a friend, a significant other, whatever, was always telling you that your ideas were horrible. So you get this idea in your head that they're telling you how horrible you are at making decisions rather than just listening to what they are trying to say. Okay. Amy, I agree. I think we have a community here of people who truly do want to understand and care. They want to be there for each other. Okay, yes, there's also assholes out there. Assholes are going to exist every day of our life. And that's why we take information like this, because we can't change other people. All we can do is change how we deal with what they're going to throw our direction. Okay, how are we going to react to it? How are we going to believe? Are we going to believe it? Or are we going to, as it was mentioned earlier in chat, let it just roll off? Okay. Those are the things we have the control over. And we have a lot of people in this community who will help us do that. And leaning on them is what's so awesome, is because they are there for you. And our defensiveness over time becomes a habit. Now, what do I mean by this? Okay. Defensiveness starts from the time we're a child. Okay. Where we say you've got two siblings and one says the other one lied. Okay. "Oh, mommy, so-and-so hit me." And you're like, I didn't hit them. They're playing game. And so you get this, "No, I didn't." And the back and forth, this defensiveness, trying to make a point to mom that, no, I did not hit them. And also it becomes this defensive back and forth type thing. And it sticks in our head as we're getting older and older that the only way we can fight back is to verbalize this, to go after, to try to, and then over time, it becomes cutting down the other person more and more based off of the emotion than something else. Okay, think of it this way. Say someone comes to you and says something false that is just very easy, normal thing. "Oh yeah, you went to so-and-so high school." Okay, something easy, okay? And you're like, "No, I didn't. I went to this high school." How do you deal with that type of thing? Well, you're going to deal with it in that, okay, very assertive way of, okay, and logical way of saying, "No, I actually went to this high school, okay, down on, okay, this street. That's actually where I went to high school." And it just stops there. You correct the issue, you move on. Now, if it comes to something where you get defensive about it, you come out and you state your truth, and then you keep pushing and pushing, and maybe throw in a comment that makes that other person now feel like they're being attacked, and you now have the back and forth. So over the years, we become more, and that defensiveness becomes a habit. It becomes a cycle that we're so used to and we fall back on. So to change that, we have to really change long-standing behaviors. It's not easy. It's not something, I mean, I wish I could say every one of us here could, the next time someone from YouTube makes some asinine comment about us, that we could address it in an assertive, okay, non-emotional, logical way, and move forward. It's not going to be that easy. Okay, you're going to have to practice it over and over and over. And over time, it will get easier. Okay, it's like someone who's trying to break themselves from biting their fingernails. Okay, the first couple days is hard as hell. And then slowly you find yourself going 2 or 3 days without thinking about biting those fingernails. Then it goes a week. Then it goes, and over time it gets, and then, you know what? Something might happen that makes you fall right back onto biting your nails. Okay, something happens stressful in life and you're back to like that. But then you just get right back on. And JP, I've been reformed by my coach therapist. Change your thinking every day presents opportunity, tests, and trouble. Yeah, and it does. It really does. Every day is this gift for us to grow. It really does come down to that. Amy, I have ignored so much because they are not worth my energy for the fight. And that's it. Because in the end, the more we fight back, are we really hurting them or are we hurting ourselves? We're adding stress to our life. We find ourselves not sleeping at night. We find ourselves questioning things even more and more over time. It's so hard not to do it at the same time. It's super freaking hard not to do it. Okay, and that's where we depend on each other, okay, where we can go to other people that we trust and know that they will have our shoulder. Okay, they'll be the shoulder for us to lean on and vent to so that we don't end up going out there on that defensive level that just starts that whole cycle. And because especially if it's being started by someone who wants to cause trouble, it's never going to stop because that's what they want. And so how do you change these patterns? This is the fun. What can we do to change the patterns? Oh yeah, Wyoming. Not sleeping, eating. I've woken up in the middle of the night the last few nights and I'm actually thinking YouTube. And that's sad. Out of all the things I could be dreaming about or stuff like that, I'm dreaming YouTube. Or I'm dreaming family issues. Or I'm whatever they are. Okay. So how do we change it? Well, changing the pattern really is going to take time, guys. It's going to take time. And it's going to take you being good to yourself if you fail, not getting on your case if you fail. And it's going to take you understanding who you are and starting to understand what triggers the feelings. It's kind of like for those people who ever deal with triggers, you look at what it is that triggers you. Okay, if you're going through PTSD and you know you have issues with triggers, one of the first things you start working with your therapist is what is triggering those. Is it a smell? Is it something you see? Is it a tone of voice? What is it? And that's where you're going to say, PJ, hey PJ, welcome my dear. That's where you start off this whole thing. You're going to take a step back and figure out what it is that's triggering you. Because once you can figure out what that trigger is, then you can deal with the trigger. But as long as the trigger is in charge, it's going to make it 10 times harder to address. And Amy said, it's not us who needs to change. It's us that needs to set the example. Not, yes, exactly. All we have the ability to do is change how we address things. Okay, how it affects us, whether we allow it to affect us, those types of things. So look at what it is that's leading to the trigger. Is it a certain person? Maybe it's a certain gender. Okay, if your issue might, hey in the bushes, welcome my dear, and and butterfly kisses, hey girl. Say you come from a past history, maybe domestic violence, okay, and it was heavily your mom, okay? You may find yourself getting more triggered around women than men because that's ingrained into your head to expect the negative comments to be coming from a female. So recognizing that thing. And maybe it's a certain look. Maybe at some point, someone would give you the certain look, and every time you got that look, you shrank into your chair. So when all of a sudden you are sitting at work now, and someone gives you this little, okay, look, whether it be what we call in Hawaii stink eye, okay, or something like that, and you see this look, you find yourself triggered. You find yourself starting to get more tense. And maybe it is a tone of voice. Maybe you deal with someone who's very patronizing all the time. And you're now at the point where if you hear that type of patronizing tone of voice, you're going to be like, oh, fuck no. No, don't even go there. And so recognizing what are those things that are going to trigger this for you. And once you discover that and you really know what it is that triggers you, you can move on to the next step, which is figuring out what that feels like. Because being triggered is going to feel different for each of us. Okay? And there are symptoms of it. There are certain things that you are going to feel when you're starting to get triggered. Okay? Maybe it is that warm feeling on your face. Okay, maybe it is scratching on the back of your neck. Maybe it is that weird feeling that you get somewhere up here all of a sudden where you're just like all antsy and all that. Recognize. So you're sitting there one day and someone's going to make a comment. Someone's going to make a comment. And you recognize you're getting triggered. What does that feel like to you? Make note of it. Write it down. Okay. Oh, yes, PJ. It feels so great when you're not triggered by something that used to be a trigger. Because, and the reason why you're not triggered by it anymore is you've taken control over that trigger. And you've taken the power away from it. And that's what you're wanting to do in these cases where we get defensive, is take the power away from whatever it is that's triggering you. So look for those physical sensations, okay? Look for emotional feelings. Maybe you get that little feeling like you're almost a little girl or a little boy who's nervous. And it's just that weird feeling. Like me, I get this all in my upper shoulders. I start feeling this nervous energy almost. And I've used the word before, I start feeling very dirty when all of a sudden I start feeling all this happening. And I'm like, okay, girl, something's happening here. It's up to you to recognize it now and stop it before it becomes a full force. Okay, I'm triggered and I'm going to go off after these people, or I'm going to run away and disappear type thing. Remember when you're doing this, defensiveness is like that whole flight, fight, freeze thing. Okay. And just like with that, when we're dealing with a trigger and we have to do certain things to come out and control the trigger. And the first most important thing you can do when you are triggered is breathe. Okay, hands down, breathing is key. Taking those breaths through your nose, out your mouth. Okay, holding. We talk about in for a 5 count, 9 count, 6 count, whatever it is you do, as long as you stick to whatever it is you do. In for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds. Because what happens is when we get into that fight response, all of our blood and oxygen goes to our extremities. Over millennia, well, not millennia, but thousands and thousands and thousands of years, our body has gotten to the point where we recognize when fight has come in and it puts all this oxygen out into our legs so we can run away as quickly as possible. It puts oxygen into our arms. So if we have to fight, we can fight. But what happens by putting the oxygen into those areas, it takes it out of our head. And we find ourselves zeroing in. We can't think things through as easily. If you think about it, last time you were triggered, were you able to think critically? Probably not. Because your mind doesn't have the oxygen to work off at that time. So taking those couple minutes to actually think it through. Okay, take a couple breaths. Allow your head to get the oxygen back so you can figure out. Wyoming. Exactly. If you happen to get doxxed, that flight, oh my God, fight is full force at that point. You're not thinking about, oh, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Who do I need to call? Do I need this? Do I need to do that? You're just like, oh, fuck, what's going on? Okay, how do I deal with this? What do I call in you're just like, oh my God, how can I? Nothing is making sense at that point. You're just reacting at that point. So you need to calm yourself down enough where you can actually think things through. Okay, you can rationalize things out and figure out exactly where it is you need to go. And we went through that. So, and once you do that, you can do exactly what happens here. You now know what triggers these feelings of defensiveness. You know what those feelings look like. PJ, I know I've done it too. I've done it too, and it drives me crazy. And I go into the flight fight every single time I do it. And so once you now know what it is, you also know how it affects you. So now you talk to yourself. You start trying to work things out. What is it that has you feeling threatened? Because again, if you are thinking about becoming defensive, there must be a threat in there somewhere. Threats don't have to necessarily be a threat to your life. Like I said, threats to ego is still a threat. So what is it that has been threatened for you? You need to identify those things. And a lot of times that is an insecurity. Okay, each of us have our insecurities, including the assholes who might want to keep triggering your own insecurity. Okay, they have their own insecurities too. And that's where the defensiveness gets back to where we're going back and forth, trying to attack each other's insecurities. Well, instead, take care of your own. Focus on your own so you can address it and you take that power away from them at that point. So identify what it is. Maybe you are at your grandparents' house. Okay, this is something that did happen with me at times. Okay. I would go to my grandmother's house when I was a little girl growing up and was just starting to have issues with weight and stuff like that. And she might make a comment, okay, about I took maybe a little bit more of the mashed potatoes than I should have. And I would find myself starting to ball up in this anxiety and stuff like that. So recognizing at that time, okay, she is hitting on my insecurity about how I look or things like that. Maybe if it is at work and AKDK, maybe it's something where at work, okay, you're so proud of everything you do. And you've always been one of those people who tries the hardest they can to get everything done. And you're a perfectionist. And someone comes in and makes a comment about something you suggested we try doing. And you take that personally because it is hitting on that insecurity you have about being perfect. So try to figure out what it is. Think about what it is. Look at the person it's coming from, because that a lot of times is going to say a lot. Sometimes we hear words come our direction and we get defensive. We attack back. We do these things. But if we just step back and look at who it's coming from, we might find out there's a different way of handling it. We all know the negative Nancy. Okay, there's people out there, the negative Nancys, who are like, no matter what, they're going to see something negative in everything. Everyone does. Okay, Boots, I have not told secrets someone told me because I do not believe the internet needs to know. However, they told things I told them in private. And yes, and that does happen. That does happen. You find out over time. I was talking to someone the other day. I honestly feel within 6 to 9 months on YouTube, you really start to get a good idea of who people really are. And you kind of see the behaviors over a long term. And you've got to keep going and looking at that. And, but yeah, that negative Nancy, the Debbie Downer. Oh, yes, PJ, exactly. And so if someone is coming to you and they're saying something about you, okay, my grandmother. Okay, with the whole thing on mashed potatoes or whatever. Okay, if I had looked at her at that time, of course, a young girl does not look this way, but if I had looked at her at that time, I would have noticed that she was someone who always saw something negative about anyone and how they looked. She could point out that one little thing that you had a problem with, and she would bring that one little thing up. So do you give that person that control over you, okay, you know they're going to do this with everyone. It has nothing to do with you. If they're not attacking you negatively, they're going to attack someone else negatively. So why give them the control over that? Okay, maybe someone is always very aloof or straightforward. Okay, I run into this actually with mom a lot because a couple of my friends are very, very just culturally very straightforward. This is how it is. Not much of that, let me comfort you as I'm telling you these things. And I've taken on a lot of that myself over the years because I've just spent so much time with them. And sometimes she'll get mad at me at how I put forward information. And yet it's not something negative I'm saying. It's just the way I'm saying it might be very straightforward and not be careful about tiptoeing around emotions or something like that. So recognizing that as you go, hey, Robbie, love you, mwah, love you. So recognizing that, is that person that is triggering you and making you so defensive one of those people that, you know what, they may not even be saying anything bad about you. They're just, it's the way they put themselves forward. And you're reading into it because it's something about you that upsets you. Okay, they may not have said anything about how awesome that outfit looks on you because that's not something they would normally say. It's not saying you look horrible, but you may be thinking it means you're horrible because they didn't say it to you. So recognizing that, or maybe the person always comments and judges people. Okay, you know, that person at work, no matter what you say, what you do, what anyone says or does, they are going to find the negative no matter what. They're going to always comment. They're always going to tell you how you could have done that just slightly better, things like that. Now, honestly, they may not even be thinking about judging you or commenting negatively about you. They may actually think they're helping by giving you ideas. But because of the way we're thinking, because of self-esteem, self-worth issues, we may be seeing it in a negative light, when in reality, it may be being offered as a gift. It's just their presentation does not come across that way. So look at who it's coming from. Recognize that person, who they really are, how they approach things, and then choose how you want to respond. Okay, you now know what triggers you. You know how it feels when you're triggered. You are looking at the person themselves who is doing whatever it is that's triggering you. So now you have to decide, okay, what am I going to do to respond to this? And like I said, this stuff is not going to come overnight, not even close, because it takes time. It takes work. Now, over time, you're going to get better because you're going to recognize it. PJ, thank you so much, my dear. Thank you so much. I love you and I appreciate you, my dear. I appreciate. Thank you, my dear. And so choose how you want to respond, because sometimes we do tend to respond without thinking how it's going to affect other people. Hey, Jet's mom, love you, my dear. So you may decide you want to respond assertively, ignore them. Welcome to the family, Boots. Welcome, 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 my dear. We got another Ohana member. Yay! Ohana members. I love it. I love my Ohana members. I'm going to need new emojis very soon, actually. And, oh no, I just closed out my banners. I don't want to do that. And so you can decide to respond to it assertively. You can decide to ignore it completely, or you could decide to just walk away. Those are your choices. That's your power. Your ability to decide how you're going to respond to these people. Okay, take what you want from the situation. Okay, is there something you want from the situation, or is there nothing you want? Are you going to walk away because it's like, this person doesn't deserve any of my time? Okay, or are you going to address it because it's something that's important? And recognizing that is important on your own, and then acting on it. So act on those decisions. You know how you want to. Now, some of the things to continue on how you might choose to listen and respond to them. Okay. Maybe there is some comment being made on YouTube about how you addressed something else. Okay. Someone's come to you. Okay. As you went through it, you realized you were being triggered. You knew how it was feeling. You looked at the person and you're like, yeah, this person isn't really trying to get a rise from me. They're just bringing up a fair point. I'm going to make the decision to listen to what they have to say to me. And I'm going to take what I want and I'm going to leave what I don't want. Because that's the thing. We don't have to always agree with everything everyone says. You can still listen to them. So listen to the lessons. They may have lessons for you. They may have something that you could grow from, or they may not. And at that point, you make the choice. Okay, thank you for sharing the information with me. I've heard what you said. That's it. You walk away at that point. You have given them the benefit of being heard. You're not responding to them or anything like that. You're not giving them anything where they can continue playing the game back and forth. But if there was something that you can come out of it from, and all of us have lessons still to learn. All of us have lessons to learn. I mean, I have gone and seen people in a light that was not true for who I am. When I looked at them, I was like, oh God, I jumped on that. I jumped and I should not have jumped on that one. Or, you know what? Yeah, they're right. That comment there could have been taken slightly differently if I had written it this way or something like that. So look at that. You could also choose to selectively not engage. Okay. You make the decision for yourself that you are not going to respond. You're not even going to listen to what they say, because you know by you listening to what they're going to say, you know that person is going to do nothing but try to trigger a response out of you. It's that type of person. When you went through it, you realized you were getting triggered. You knew how it felt. And when you looked at the person, you're like, oh yeah, this person has a track record of doing nothing but stirring up shit. So you make that decision to selectively not engage. Okay, you're not going to respond physically. You're not going to respond verbally. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to just walk away and ignore them. And that can sometimes be hard, because those are the cases when a lot of times we get worried because we're worried how people are going to see us. And, oh, but if I don't respond, does that mean people are going to think they're telling the truth or stuff like that? And that's the trap that they're trying to pull us into. And because, again, like I said, the people who care about you and love you, they know the truth to begin with. The ones who are trying to stir up shit are never going to see it. Okay, they're going to believe whatever they want to believe. And that's fine. They have that right. It's their loss, not yours. It's their loss. And the ones who are in the middle are literally the ones who are going to try to figure things out for themselves. They're going to come and talk to you. They're going to come and try to find out both sides and come to an agreement somewhere in there. So public response might not get you anywhere other than, again, do what defensiveness tends to do, which is stir up more and more emotions and get us deeper and deeper and deeper into the place where we regret our behavior later. The last way is something called rolling with resistance. I may have a typo there. But anyhow, what rolling with resistance tends to be is you agree with them and then you move on. Now, agreeing with them does not mean you agree with them in capital letters. It's just saying you say the words. Okay. It's not about being defensive. You're just giving a response back. Okay. Some of the examples that you could do. Okay. Say you are, okay, it's written here. Let's stick with what I got written here. You want to get seconds at dinner, and someone makes some comment about, oh, going for that second. Oh, okay, going for seconds for dinner. And you're like, oh shit, this person's, I'm gonna blow up at this person. I'm going to, okay, everyone's gonna know everything about it and all that. They've hit that sore spot in you, and you know they've hit that sore spot. So what you choose to do in rolling with resistance is this. Yeah, I'm gonna go get myself a second helping right now. That's it. You just address it, move on. Maybe someone makes a comment. Yeah, okay, you're working on some idea and everything, and you finish presenting something at work, and someone's like, wow, you seem very sure of yourself, don't you? And usually it's with the attitudes that these things will come up. Yeah, you seem really sure of yourself, don't you? Oh, thank you. I've really been working on my self-esteem a lot right now, and yeah, I think I'm really coming far. Thank you so much. And then you walk away. It's all you need to do. Okay. No, you're not saying it in a negative, oh, I'm going to get you back type way. No, you're stating a fact. Thank you. I am working on myself right now and on my self-esteem. So thank you so much for recognizing that. That's what rolling with resistance is about. DM will do boots. I will check DM right after this for sure, my dear. So there's many ways we can deal with this. Okay, so we're kind of pulling this together. Good morning, Anitra. Welcome, welcome. 6 a.m. Oh my God. That's too early. That's too early. And thank you, my dear. Thanks and welcome, my dear. And 3 snaps in a Z formation. Yes, exactly. So, but we have these abilities to do these things. No one's going to force us to respond. They're going to try to get us to respond. But you don't have to respond. You don't have to be defensive about, because again, go back to what defensiveness usually comes down to. It's something inside of you that you're dealing with and you're trying to come to terms with. You're not being defensive to try to put someone else in place. Many times you're being defensive because you're trying to get yourself to believe that you are worth it. Because most people, again, go back to the thing about what high school did you go to? Okay, there's no need to get defensive about what high school I went to because I know exactly what high school I went to. I don't have to get defensive about it because it's, yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I know who I am. I know I went to that school. That's all that matters. And yet, if someone else comes to me with something that is one of my weak spots, I will tend to jump up and be more defensive because I'm trying to tell myself that what the truth actually is. And each of us are worth it. Each of us are worth it. It's not helpful to put ourselves through the stress that comes with all this stuff. All the defensiveness and stuff where we start feeling worse. Like I said, when a friend forgets a birthday or something like that, and you start thinking it's all about you and your friend not liking you and stuff like that, and you just get yourself deeper and deeper and deeper and thinking everything's about you, and then you find out, oh, that person just totally forgot what the date was. But by then, you're already questioning in your head that friendship, and you're hurting that belief about you and your friend. So think those things through. And actually, right now, let me pull this one up while we're talking about that. Any takeaways from today? Because this was definitely something I know I've dealt more and more with the defensiveness because I work on my self-esteem. I have to work on my self-esteem. I will question things like crazy. I will, Grandma Sherry, yes. Am I actually being attacked? Do I need to defend this? Look at what you defend. Life safety. If you're being chased down a dark road or something, you are going to defend yourself. But if it's someone sitting there trying to call you names or trying to play games with you or stuff like that to make you think less about yourself and make other people think less about you, no. You don't need to defend that because you know who you are inside. And so with the takeaways, is there something that from today, and for those of you who are in the replay crew, please pop it on down below. Do you have a takeaway from today? Something that we talked about that will help you in moving forward this week, because there is a lot of shit going on out there right now. And it's something I think a lot of us need to be remembering. I mean, Sherry has a great one there about, am I actually being attacked? Asking yourself those things. I love you, Sherry. I love you, my dear. Boots has, I have learned through the last couple of months to let people tell lies about you. I put out the truth, so I don't care what, and that's it. People get to where your truth is your truth. People can't take that away from you unless you let them take it away from you. Your friends know who you are. Okay, be honest and true to who you are. Be your best friend. I mean, there's enough shit out there in the world. Be your best friend. Wyoming, I definitely learned what to do when I get angry. Yes. And don't buy tickets to the shit show. Yes, Sherry, that's it. Don't buy tickets. They're too expensive. Trust me, when they're keeping you up at night, that payment is just too expensive. When it's hurting your health because of anxiety, because of high blood pressure, because of all these other things, it's not worth the payment. And PJ, I've learned how to manage my PTSD, and I don't have to be afraid to go out anymore. Bingo. And that's a huge one when you start realizing you can go outside and live a life instead of being in your house, because it's hard. That was me. That was me. I never left. And it feels great working now, getting out and doing things. Yes. Gives you newfound belief in yourself. Okay, knowing who you are and what you're going to be doing with your life, which is amazing. And so way too expensive. Don't even watch or listen to them. Exactly. So, and you guys, use your friends. Use your friends. Okay. Friends are there for you. Now, your friends are not there to enable you. Okay. No, friends who are enabling you are probably not the best. Okay. But they are there to help you. Okay. To help you grow, to be there for you when you need them. Okay, rather than blowing up publicly, defensively, okay, keep it within your group where they can help support you until you're at that place where you're like, okay, I'm fine now. I'm good. And so we are going to be in 45 minutes, just over 45 minutes, going into Cantina tonight. So we are going to have fun. I'm going to go grab myself something to eat right now. And I say I'm going to grab something to eat, and I never do it. I start, and then I leave it in the microwave. Not good. So I hope to see some of you guys. I did set up where this should go straight into Cantina. So if you want to just leave it open or just go in and thumbs up, please feel free to do that. To Boots for joining our new memberships. Thank you for becoming an Ohana. And PJ, thank you for the donation. I really appreciate that. Oh, Anitra. You know, Anitra, friends can show themselves in so many other ways. I remember when I wouldn't leave the house hardly at all, because it wasn't that I was scared to go out or anything. It was more like I was worried about going out and connecting with people and later on getting hurt if they left me, stuff like that. But friends show up in other ways. Believe it or not, YouTube friends are some of the most amazing friends you can have out there. Find the friends that you connect with in these groups. Okay, see if you can get into things where we talk. Just be safe about it and all that, because there's so many out there. Friends show themselves in other ways. And you're a sweetheart, my dear. I've seen you come into chats for over a year now, probably more like 2. And you are a sweetheart. So please keep coming in. There are friends out there for you. And so some friends leave, but others, remember what I say about friendship? It's like a bus. You get on at a certain stop, and other people keep coming on to the bus. And they may stay for 2 or 3 stops, or they may stay till the end of the line. And but each of them come onto that bus, and you spend some time with them. So Love you guys all tons and tons. Help each other, be there for each other, be there for you. You matter, gang. In the end, we're our best friends. So continue being your best friend. And I will see y'all over in Cantina in 46 minutes. Aloha, gang. Mahalo. Love you guys. Bye bye.